Hello and welcome to what is an early frontrunner for possibly the dumbest video this channel will ever do. But it's a video inspired by this, the Mirage Volcano, or more accurately the blackjack tables about 200 feet away. And anything inspired by Vegas is worth doing, right? So let's find out how Sin City relates to PC gaming. Now, the Mirage these days generally has a table minimum of $25 per hand, and as I was experiencing typical Vegas blackjack,
18.
19. So close.
I started to wonder if maybe there weren't a better use of that money. Maybe a cheap GPU? So after trudging back to my hotel room, I headed up to eBay and ordered a trio of intriguing options. These are what I scored. In the first corner, the infamous GTS 450, well known for being virtually every scam graphics card ever ordered off Wish. This one, however, isn't a scam and was actually a deliberate purchase. I'll put up each card's stats on screen, including the overclocks that each one was tested with. This particular card stands out for having the fastest memory and the highest bandwidth of the bunch, due in no small part to being the only one sporting GDDR5 memory. In the next corner, the AMD Radeon HD 7750. GDDR3 version. This is a low-profile, toned-down version of the bigger 7750, and this card is expected to be hampered a bit because it has that low memory bandwidth. But it's still notable for having, on paper at least, the most powerful silicon of the bunch, owing to its 512 shaders. This card also requires no external power, so points for that. And in the final corner, the AMD Radeon R7 240. Another low-profile card on a full-height bracket, which also requires no external power, but this time boasting a full 2 GB of VRAM, in the form of GDDR3 again. This card, however, lays claim to the most recent official drivers in the testing, which may actually count for something in the end. And for those keeping track, yes, that was 3 corners. It's sort of a ternary diagram cage match, but enough about QAP diagrams of GPUs, let's hit the testing. A quick screen here to highlight the test bench, which really seemed like overkill for this level of graphics hardware, and all drivers used were the most recent official versions for these specific cards. First up, my favorite synthetic, 3D Mark, where all of the cards were going to be laughably bad at Firestrike, so Skydiver had to stand in. As expected, the shader count of the 7750 puts it far ahead of the field, and delivers the only 30 FPS figure of the lot. Synthetics, however, aren't games, so let's see some of those. Next up is 2010's venerable classic Fallout New Vegas, running it at 1080p medium, where the 7750's reign of supremacy quickly comes to an end. Now this game does have a hard 60 FPS cap, but not being able to even hit that, and lagging behind in the 1% lows as well, doesn't really bode well for the 7750. This is a game that's still decently playable at 40 FPS, so even the R7 delivered a usable experience, but the stutters were perceptibly worse with that card than the rest. The GTS 450 wins this round. On the heels of that, we have another aging classic, GTA 5 at 1080p normal. Now this game is pretty well established as being better optimized for NVIDIA GPUs, and the Fermi Silicon in the GTS 450 makes full use of that, becoming the only card within spitting distance of a 60 FPS average on our 5-minute benchmark run. The Achilles heel of the 450 in this title is areas with any amount of foliage, where it struggles to draw the huge number of polygons needed. But it was still a totally playable experience. Now moving on to esports titles, it's time for some Fortnite, which has lately been kind of a stuttery mess on any class of hardware. Here we're using the performance mode at 720p with epic draw distance for racking up those sweet long shots. And once again, to no one's surprise, the GTS 450 comes out on top. CSGO at 720p low for maximum frame rate was predictably more of the same. All 3 cards, including the lowly R7, actually delivered playable frames, but the GTS 450 still held on to a meaningful performance lead. And just look at the difference in those 1% lows. The GTS 450's 1% is nearly the average for the R7. It should also be highlighted, though it is very difficult to capture on video, that the GTS 450 also had the least perceptible input lag here, which is something that you'll actually find creeps into CSGO the more fully utilized the GPU is. And for the last of the esports titles, it's Valorant at 1080p medium settings with 4x anisotropic filtering on. Now this is a game that I'm fairly certain will run on literally any DX11 capable card on Earth, so hopefully all of these deliver playable frames. And actually they do. But once again, the GTS 450 steals the show and delivers a genuine high refresh rate gaming experience. Okay, so at this point, desperate for an AMD card to actually win something, we'll have to turn to a franchise that has an unusual, possibly carnal, lust for AMD cards, the Call of Duty franchise. Specifically, Black Ops 3, at 720p lowest, or as we might like to think of it, the Xbox 360 experience. Here, finally, the 7750 delivers a resounding win and offers the only 60 FPS average experience. And to demonstrate how unusual the love affair is between this franchise and AMD cards, we see that even the R7, which up to this point has basically been a punching bag, comes through with a meaningful improvement over the GTS 450. So with that in mind, should you actually go out and buy any of these? Well, maybe. For turning a tired office PC into a very lightweight gaming machine? Maybe. But as a deliberate purchase for serious gaming and a dedicated build? Absolutely not. Especially the R7. Not just because it's terrible, but because it's unnecessarily terrible. It's kneecapped by both an underpowered GPU die and slow memory. It lacks AMD's VCE encoding capability, and because this exists. Hooray! The R5 430, which is really just a roided out version of the exact same GPU, but with GDDR5 memory, a huge performance uplift, and the exact same secondary market price. With that, thank you all for watching. Like if you enjoyed, mash the dislike button if you didn't, and hopefully I'll catch you all the next time around.